Good morning, friends. Welcome to today's video post. In our past few posts, we've been talking about how not to get lost in, embroiled in experience, and talked about a number of ways to do that. And today, want to continue on that theme. And today we're going to look at becoming aware of thoughts. Because when we get embroiled in something, when we get lost in experience, we don't actually get lost in the experience itself. We get lost in our stories and thoughts about the experience, right? Someone's a person that we have a hard time with and they're behaving in a certain way. We're not getting lost in them, like somehow we get lost in their body or their mind or whatever, right? We're lost in our own mind, in our own judgments and stories and condemnations or whatever, right? That's where we're lost. Joseph Goldstein has this great statement. He said one time, there's no desire in a bowl of ice cream. Like, that's not where it is. We don't get lost in the ice cream. We get lost in the desire for it, and the desire is in our own mind. So one of the really important ways to not get lost in experience or embroiled in our experience is to be aware of the contents of our own minds, our thoughts, what's going on. And of course, to do that, it takes some mindfulness, it takes some steadiness of mind to look and catch thoughts before we get too taken away by them. And it takes some intention, takes some wanting to, or being clear about that's what we're going to look for in the mind. So let's go ahead and do some of that practice now, because the quiet and the conditions of our formal practice really are helpful in being able to watch the mind. Much harder to do that during the day. It can be done, we can do it for sure, but the conditions of the formal practice, the quiet, not much going on, much easier to begin to pay attention to the things that arise in our mind, the mind states, the thoughts, etc. Okay, so let's get into the position. We're going to meditate in. And just to say, we've been practicing what's called Shamatha Meditation or tranquility meditation. It's known as, or translated as, the word shamatha, tranquility. And today, and as we turn our attention to thoughts, we're really moving more in the realm of vipassana meditation. But of course, those two work together, and I'll explain that as I guide us through. Okay, so letting the eyes come to close, if that's how you meditate. And then forming the intention is for the body to soften, relax, bringing some attention to the eyes, softening the eyes and the area around the eyes, softening the muscles of the face, letting the jaw drop, letting the shoulders drop, letting the belly drop. So this sense of the energy sinking downwards. And while the back continues to be upright, though. We don't collapse when we relax. Energy sinking downwards and kind of bringing us into this relationship with the body and the earth below it, the seat, the floor, cushion, whatever you're sitting or standing on. As our energy sinks downwards and we follow that with our attention, we naturally become aware of the contact points between our body and what's below it. Or if you're in a chair, also what's behind it, if you're leaning back. And we just start to notice the sensations we feel at these contact points. Not only do we have a sense of the energy sinking downwards and the body softening in that way, but also widening, that the front of the body feels open. Receptive. Keeping the attention connected to the body in a somatic way, meaning we're feeling sensations. Broadening the attention now, moving from just the contact points to feeling the whole body, so widening the attention, filling the whole body with the attention. And noticing what we feel in terms of sensations, and also where we feel. I feel sensations in my arms, but not so much in my legs, or vice versa, or no right thing that we're supposed to feel, just that we feel, that we have this somatic connection. As we connect with the body in this more kind of wide way, feel the body as a field of sensations. Not so much perhaps as a distinct form. The edges of this field maybe aren't so very, very clear and boundaried, more diffuse. Tiny points of sensations kind of sparkling in and out of existence very quickly. So that this field is kind of shimmering. If you've ever seen the sun sparkle on the surface of a water that has ripples on it, kind of a visual representation of this field of tiny sparkling sensations. And we can know the breath as part of this field of sensations, not separate from it. Feeling what is called in the Anapanasati Sutta the breath body, just this one thing. They're not separate. And this is the meditation object for our shamatha practice, as we've been doing. And allowing the attention to rest with the sensations of the breath body starts to give some steadiness to the mind. Not perfectly, but a little bit, perhaps a little less fleeting about. And as we sit here or stand, whatever position you're in, with the attention resting with the sensations of the breath body, we can then consciously turn our attention kind of inwards and notice thoughts when they arise. Now we may notice them right when they arise, or we may notice them after we've been kind of embroiled in them a bit. It could be 5 seconds, could be 5 minutes. You wake up, oh, right. Doesn't matter. In any case, whether it's immediately when they arise, 5 seconds or 5 minutes, we're still becoming aware of thought. We have this breath body in the background, kind of helping to hold us steady, checking in with those sensations from time to time. And just forming the intention to become aware of thought, not get rid of thought, not make thought bad or wrong, but to be aware of it. In our Vipassana meditation practice, the goal is not to get rid of thought. The goal is to become aware of thought. Mostly when we become aware of a thought, it dissolves. We don't have to fight that or think it should be different. Just let it dissolve. Don't push it away. But if it wants to just dissolve, let that happen. Kind of rest your attention back with the breath body. We become embroiled in thought and story and the mind-made world when we're not aware of their presence. When we're not aware of their presence, we believe them. when we can become aware of their presence. We can see them for what they are, just blips of energy in the mind that arise and pass away actually quite quickly when we don't get embroiled with them. Let yourself stay connected to the breath body. Helps to keep one steady. Just noticing thoughts when we become aware of them. Not judging them for their content or for their presence. Simply knowing, oh, this is what's present. One of the things that I hear often from students is, I can't meditate with thoughts. I keep getting carried away. Yes, we do get carried away lots by thoughts. But at some point, you wake up, don't you? Even if it's after 10 minutes, long mind-made fantasy, you wake up. And in that moment, you become aware of thoughts. So really, in that moment of wake up, instead of making ourselves wrong or making it a problem, see it for what it actually is, which is the mind becoming aware that thoughts are present. And then notice what happens to the thoughts when you become aware of them, right? These things that have so much power because we get embroiled in them and we believe they're true and we get lost in these stories and we make up these worlds, right? We make up worlds in our minds and live in them as though they're true. That's got so much power, but that power comes from the lack of mindfulness. As soon as we kind of snap out of it and come back to the present moment, very often the whole thing just collapses. And it's very interesting to watch that and see that actually happen in our own experience right as it's happening. And we start to see the flimsiness of thought. So very helpful, very important way, very important tool in our toolbox in terms of not getting lost and embroiled in experience. This ability to start to become aware of thoughts as they're happening. And not to be afraid of thought just because we get lost in it. We're going to continue to get lost in it. The more and more we form the intention to be aware of them, that intention must, in time, give rise to results. And the more we become aware of thought, the more we become aware of thought. And the more we're aware of thought, the more we're not lost in it. Lost in these mind-made worlds where almost all of our suffering happens. And in terms of practicing during the day, one kind of technique you can use, or one way to work with thoughts, is when you find yourself suffering, when you realize you're in a bad mood, or just look and see what thoughts you're believing, what stories are in your mind that you're believing. 10 to 1, there are some in there that are going on that you haven't seen. And it's the believing in those thoughts and stories that are causing you to suffer. Yeah, so when you wake up to suffering, check and see what's happening in the mind, what stories are being believed. And in doing that, we can really start to give ourselves some relief from being kind of dragged through the mud by these stories. So I wish you many moments of relief in that way today, and a good day in general. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye. Take good care.